about the resettlement process for refugees. And then also maybe address the question, how can we be certain that refugees that come here are not a security risk to our citizens?
Okay, so once a refugee flees his or her own homeland due to the 5 prereqs that Mr. Holson mentioned, he or she will register with the UNHCR, the United Nations High Commissioner of Refugees, and then if they are the select few, less than 1% of the world's population who gets chosen for resettlement, and say to a country such as America, they will go through various and rigorous background checks. So batteries of interviews, iris, retina scans, you name it, by Department of Homeland Security and other agencies. So that's the second part of her question, how we make sure that we are not allowing in a security risk. Once they are here, we will help them, our organization will help them with services that you might need if you're picked up from this room and dropped to a foreign nation, not knowing the language or culture or traditions there. So we will provide everything to make you self-sufficient as quick as possible. We will help you find a job. We will enroll your kids in school. We will help you apply for your personal identification documents, get you a furnished apartment, all to get you self-sufficient as quickly as possible. So contrary to popular beliefs, refugees are not a burden on American society. They are positive tax-paying members of our society.
The next one is from Judge Jenkins. In your experience, how have refugees impacted the local Dallas community? And if you could maybe think of a couple of examples, that would be great. And then, what is the most powerful action that concerned citizens can take to support refugees? And how can we participate in legislative advocacy right here in Dallas County?
So many great stories of refugees strengthen our community. They really do, and those of you who are here make our community stronger. I want to give you an example of just 18 people that I got the opportunity to meet here in the last couple of months. In this room in May, I had the opportunity to address the graduating class from Conrad, and that were refugees, that is. So I want to tell you about 3 of the kids. There's Bei Shay. Bei Shay is the only HKS intern in high school last year, and Bei Shay is a salutatorian in Conrad High School. Then I'm going to try to phonetically out these names. There's Ganga Badari. He's the homecoming king and co-captain of the football team. And then, not that I have favorites, but I really was touched by this child. Yamika Katawada. She learned from her mother to not see evil in others, even when they try to show it. And the kids were all, or the students were all asked to pick a person that had meant the most to them in their lives in their journey to graduate from high school. 8 of the 10 chose their moms or dads. So that's 18 refugees right there that have had a tremendous impact on our community. And what was your other question?
Advocacy, what can we do?
What can you do? So, you know, I say something, I stole this from someone else, that any person can count the seeds in an apple, but only God counts the apples in one seed. And that is to say, your act of kindness, your work, your hour of volunteering, it's hard to know the impact that will have. My sister and niece, Laura and Arabella, are here with me tonight. They've both volunteered. Also, one of the commissioners on the Commissioner's Court, Teresa Daniel, is here as well. If we could all bring some folks with us. I didn't bring Teresa, but I'm sure glad she's here. I didn't bring these guys. Bring folks, talk to folks, and I think at this time when you've got the Muslim ban, you've got all the things going on in this country, it's time to be courageous and resist hate.
We're moving to the front row. Dr. Nibs. This is also a 2-part question. When refugees come to America, especially those with language and education deficiencies, we know that they've traditionally struggled. And so the questions there are, what strategies have you found that could help them move into living wages sooner? And then also, sort of on the flip side, what are some of the benefits to the DFW community and beyond when a refugee family makes a living wage?
Thank you. Well, our research has shown that most refugees that come to the U.S. want what we all want, to live in a good neighborhood, to be in a safe school, and to be able to provide, have the dignity to provide for their family. But wages don't often keep up with cost of living, and they get put into survival wage jobs. But unlike you and I, they don't know how to move into the fast lane, so to say. They don't know how to jump from a minimum wage job into a living wage job. And those that struggle not knowing how, we found take an average of 13 years in the U.S. to break the living wage. But those on the flip side who have been given any kind of skill training, whether it's mentorship, on-the-job training, or an investment in technical school or certification training, were able to break a living wage, which is about $5 above minimum wage, in just 13 months. And for those that, whether individuals or churches or the government that invest in that skill training, it's over a 600% return on investment to the tax dollar. So it's a great investment for those people that are just looking at raw numbers of a little $2,000 investment in a 9-month or 1-year community college program can yield over 600% return on that back to the economy and to the broader community. And it brings dignity to a family. They can move into an area where they can feel part of it. We had one refugee family in our research that said, look, we realize that we are still the bottom of the economic rung here in America, that we've only changed geography, right? So they realize that they get stuck in these places, and that's partly because by the time they move out of the resettlement system and they're ready to start making these changes, they have no idea how to navigate the system. And that's one way that we can help provide career ladders and paths for people out.
And for Dr. Yazini, what are the most important concerns that refugees have about their health upon arriving to the U.S., and how does the clinic you work in serve their needs? And then what does the public seem most concerned about regarding health issues of refugees coming into the community? And if you could possibly, in all of that, also tell us how the health screening process works.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me a great pleasure to be here, and I would like to thank Tiffany who has given me an opportunity to talk this afternoon about the refugee families and their healthcare concerns. I would also like to thank Dr. Susan Spalding, who is the Director of Youth and Family Clinics and Homes at Parkland Health and Hospital Systems, who have allowed me to speak on their behalf about services provided to the refugees at our clinics. Okay, I'm going to try, I wrote down some points, so I'm going to try to say each minutes. Okay. Our patients are from diverse areas on our planet, from Congo, Somalia, Ethiopia, Burma, Nepal, Iraq, Syria, Jordan, Nigeria, Cameroon, Gambia, Rwanda, Kenya, Liberia, Senegal, and Sierra Leone. These families have had minimal health care and sometimes have had no health care in their countries of origin. And thank God for our translation line services that we can communicate with them when they come into our clinics. Dallas County Health Department has a refugee clinic, and basically all of the screening initially when they arrive is done there. They do a physical as well as they do some needed lab work for screening, and they receive their vaccinations. After that, they are provided with a primary care physician according to their Medicaid panel. So a lot of the refugee hosting organizations, they bring the patients to me as me being their primary care physician of the school-age going children. So I do a lot of pediatrics. I don't see a lot of adult patients, refugee patients. And it is kind of interesting, we do physicals as well as additional lab work, which is needed. And they are our kids, and I have seen the kids grow. I have worked here for 7 years, and I have seen them flourish. And the American love really brings, good out of them, and they're doing good in schools. As I see these school-aged children, it is interesting to see the attraction to the designer fast foods of our country. There is excessive consumption of sugary drinks, chips, candy, and pastries that they were not able to obtain in their own countries, and it is challenging to educate the patients and parents to limit the consumption of these items for detrimental effects of their health and their dental. So basically this is what we're doing. The challenges that I have in the clinic is the language and their education level to make them understand about their diseases and their previous exposure to the healthcare. And their challenges are their new educational system, cultural barriers, religious barriers, and school bullying, which I have seen. A lot of bullying on various issues with the kids, and we do identify them because we have a lot of screening tools, psychological, medical, you name it, we have them, and we do identify and obtain help for them. Thank you.
Our last question goes to Gazwan and Fadi. Could you share with us maybe 2 experiences that would help us understand your experience as a refugee? We'll start with Gazwan.
Hello everyone. It's such an honor for me to be here with all the great people here tonight to share my story with. Before I start, may I have 4 to 5 minutes instead of 2? Because my story would be cut. Is that okay?
I think you each just got 5 minutes.
No, 4 minutes? Oh, that's fine.
4 minutes.
Okay, so whenever we hear the word refugee, the first thing that comes to our mind may be that they are burdens, and they will be, adding more burdens to the community, and they have nothing to offer. The fact is that refugees are real people, real human beings, and they have a lot to offer. Allow me to share my story, because when I'm a refugee, though I'm called a former refugee because I received my green card, permanent resident. That does not change the fact. It's, the word refugee, it's sticking there because now I'm called former refugee instead of refugee. So it's still there. I'm really proud to be called a refugee. So here's my story. In 2005, there was an envelope thrown in the front yard of our house in Iraq by a sectarian militia with a death threat message that read, "You either leave the country or you're going to meet your fate." There was a bullet tucked inside that envelope. A week before receiving that death threat message, a friend's son was kidnapped by a sectarian militia in return of ransom. Even when the family paid his ransom, the sectarian militia sent back the body of a 10-year-old boy chopped up in a garbage bag. I was really terrified of what they would do to my family, and what they would do to me too. So I fled quietly in the dark of the night to Jordan, a neighboring country, and my mother, brother, and wife went to live with our relatives and joined me a month later. Being refugees in Jordan was the biggest challenge in our life. We were isolated and homesick, and would only sit at home with no hope for tomorrow. Refugees are really suffering from a lot of and going through challenges. So the challenges they go through is that they cannot work legally because that is the Jordanian law. Due to that, I was not able to put food on the table and provide for my family. That is beside that all refugees suffering from trauma-related stress and depression. Now here's the turning point. 3 years later, I was called to distribute food boxes to refugees at a non-profit called the Collateral Repair Project, located in the neighborhood I live in. That event moved my feelings and touched my heart that whenever I handed a food box to a refugee, I drew the smile on that refugee's face. And I realized I can do more. Since then, I volunteered with that nonprofit and got some food vouchers which helped support my growing family. When I started volunteering, I started with no experience in the humanitarian work. And I was not speaking English at all. That was back in 2010. But I used body language to communicate. But it was all about our humanity as human beings. After a year, I was hired to do home visits and to assess the needs of other refugees. I kept receiving promotions to end up becoming the programs director and a member of the board of trustees. That project has broadened my horizons. I didn't just like my job, I loved it. It made me feel proud of myself to help people provide food and necessities for their families. Working with refugees has become my home away from home. I'm one of them, so I deeply understand the need. As refugees, we registered, I know we're running out of time, just only one more thing. As refugees, we registered at the UNHCR office, United Nations